Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as the Spice Lords of Hooded Outcasts hold the line and maintain control of the flow of spice. Quickly to the weather, and unbelievably it's going to be a beautiful morning all day long until evening. Cold fronts will push in from the north, bringing a light chance of invasion through the central corridor. 6 submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. Up first, the Covenant forces of Tempest's Fury assault the Syndicate forces of Washed Millennials for the northernmost region of Morningdale. The forces of Tempest's Fury regroup and immediately request a rematch for their most recent loss here 4 days ago. Request accepted by the forces of Washed Millennials, who have begun adding bathhouse improvements to the ongoing Canal District project. More on that story as it develops. Then, the Marauders of Buzzard Tony and the Boys attack the Syndicate forces of Nameless for control of the crown of Monarch's Bluff. Buzzard Tony and the Boys have gathered in the assault tent and are partying it up in preparation for tonight's event. For Nameless, this will be their second defense of the crown. How will they fare this time against a group of marauders? Meanwhile, the Syndicate forces of Secrets declare war against the Covenant forces of Milked Regime for control of the Bamboo Forest Preserves and Medicinal Hot Springs of Ebonscale. In the Great House Fight of the Night, Secrets return to the hot springs and assert their right to a rematch. Milked Regime maintain their right of faction first purchase, citing the rightful heirs to the region as those of Lost Kingdom descent. Later, the Syndicate forces of Camelus assail the Marauders of Landlord for control of the master fishing port town of Reekwater. The newcomers of Camelus make their first attempt to secure land on the island deep in the swamps. Good thing they didn't bring their camels. For landlords, maintaining control of the fishing hotspots around the hamlet, as well as rapid access to Lazarus, are still a priority. They're sure to give their all tonight. In one nightcap, the Syndicate forces of Primordius Virtue assault the Covenant forces of Lost Templar for the primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fen. Primordius Virtue return to the peat moss fields of the Fen in their attempt to reclaim it, as they had last winter. Lost Templar have only faced Primordius while attacking, and they did not win. But now they have the high ground. Let the fight begin. In the other closer, the Covenant forces of Hero assail the Syndicate forces of Secrets for the secondary oil reserves of Cutlass Keys. The former Syndicate forces of Hero have turned to the Spark, and their first holy conquest is to be against the Syndicate. Were the forces of Secrets prepared for this dramatic change in the allegiance of Hero? Are they simply prepared for anyone, not them, to attack? We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello Eternum and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news, and this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as every defending great house held the line to defend their land from would-be conquerors. In Cutlass Keys, KOTT news crews caught up with Secrets representative Fug Thugly and got a word about their defense of the Keys. Pretty straightforward victory for you out there tonight, Fug. How do you think it went out there?
You know, I think we're just excited to participate in these simulated combats. We look forward to being on the attacking side of a few more as well. And there's a lot of opportunity for us to secure additional territory, and we expect to be doing that in the not-too-distant future.
As KOTT news crews were packing up for the night, we noticed some Covenant members lurking nearby and asked if they had a scoop.
Yeah, you're about to see a lot of yellow come.
KOTT News followed the informants to their rendezvous and confirmed that the Covenant forces of Ancient Templar were soon going to declare war. All this investigative reporting made me so tired, I thought I misread the meteorological data. But as it turns out, there really are no invasions scheduled to occur tonight. 2 submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolutions brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. Up first, the Syndicate forces of Insanely Sane attack the Marauders of Pipsia's band from Brightwood for the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. The newcomers of Insanely Sane aren't just a little sane. They're not just very sane. They are beyond extremely sane, to the level of insanely sane. As for Pipsia's band from Brightwood, formerly known as Sanely Insane, formerly known as Happy Birthday, Sunny Dwar, the insanity is insanely out of control. In the late matchup, the Covenant forces of Here Be Mutineers assail the Syndicate forces of Stronghold for the perpetually disputed Restless Shore. Newcomers Here Be Mutineers make their first attempt to secure land by testing the mud in the Restless Shore. Stronghold leadership continue to maintain the alchemal stations for regional territory standing. Why would anyone want to mutiny against that? Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as both great houses stand their ground and turn away the newcomers to the island. KOTT news crews were in Brightwood last night and spoke with a Dawn Guard representative about their fight.
I mean, we knew it was going to happen. They said we were hiding. They said we were scared. Some things like that Copers would say. They decided to come to us finally and attack our territory. Not the main one, the side one. Let me add you. It wasn't even Windsward. I don't think they're ready for that. I don't even think they're ready for Brightwood. But, yes, they did come after us. We held them off as expected. You guys are not that good, average at best. I don't think you should do it again. If you do, we'll be excited to play you again. It was a fun war. But yeah.
There was a long fight for B in Restless Shore last night. We asked Stronghold leadership to take us through it.
We got to rewatch some VODs from those points. A little bit of miscommunication initially, and I'm not sure if we accurately conveyed the numbers there, but I think we lost a pretty fair engagement on C and decided to just fight them en masse on B.
I see you've also maintained the Hamlet infrastructure. Care to talk about that?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're going to keep putting up those town boards and trying to bring some more profit into this town. You know, got the arcane at least at 3, so you could at least convert the moats there for easy territory standing. And, you know, we put out the chef bonus here and there for everyone to get extra food. Everyone loves free food.
And is there anything else you want to tell the citizens of Eternum?
Until next time, guys, standing trade offer. If you guys want to catch these hands, push Restless. Until next time.
And with that, both great houses threw down their gauntlets. Turning to the weather, and after a beautiful morning all day long again, late evening invasions will begin to rise around the edges of the island. So plan your travel accordingly. For simulated fantasy combat resolution on tap for tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Up first, the Marauders of Hundo's fan club assault the Covenant forces of Milked Regime for the Bamboo Forest Reserves and Medicinal Hot Springs of Ebonscale. Little is known about Hundo's fan club, nor Hundo themselves, but the last time a fan club attacked, they won. The forces of Milked Regime no doubt recall the moment as their brethren of the Loyalists fell, so they won't be taking things lightly on the Reach. Then, the Covenant forces of Gilded Outlaws attack the Marauders of Dropouts in their effort to claim the financial capital of Windsward. Gilded Outlaws have been making various attempts to secure land around the island, but this is their first attempt on Windsward. The forces of Dropouts have held the region for nearly a month and have faced only 1 or 2 serious threats. So how will tonight turn out? Meanwhile, the Covenant forces of Booty Clapital assail the Syndicate forces of Hooded Outcasts for control of First Light and its abundant flow of spice. Booty Clapital once again attempting to secure a capital on the island, this time going for the abundant hyssop of First Light. Hooded Outcasts have held the region for well over a month, turning away all religious sects that have attempted to take control of the flow of spice. In the nightcap, the Covenant forces of Eternal Stand challenge the Syndicate forces of Black Wolf's Company for their championship title and the right to rule over Everfall. The newcomers of Eternal Stand step into the ring in their bid to claim the championship belt. A win tonight by the champs will move them into a tie for 3rd place on the all-time Never Fall list, currently held by the Reckoning with 5. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the Peace Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night as all 4 great houses answer the call and hold the line. KOTT news crews were in first light and caught up with Hooded Outcast's leadership after their fight. Eye of the Tiger on flag there for 5 minutes. Great hold. How did it feel?
Thank you. It definitely had us sweating when 23 minutes in they got all points. It was a good fight, but we just, kept it together. We had a lot of great heals, some good communication, and yeah.
I understand you've prepared a brief mission statement about Hooded Outcasts?
We're here to fix the spice market, to make sure, healers get their mana pots for cheap, and hopefully get the health pots to be a more reasonable price. So that's what we're working on.
While in first light, this reporter encountered 2 very concerned citizens.
We need is a fashion contest, okay? We need to encourage players to care about their drip. Because you look good, you play good, Now, this is some fire drip. That's right.
This is my post-war robe. You like it?
I like it.
So on behalf of those concerned citizens, KOTT News would like to remind you, don't forget your drip. Turning to the weather, and it's another sunny day all day long until late evening cold fronts will drive invasions into Brightwood through to Restless Shore. No submissions for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by World Peace. This reporter will be taking advantage of the slow war night to complete my faction training in Reekwater and start buying Genesis orbs. So hit me up if you want to run a few with me. Be sure to tune in at 11 for any breaking news tonight. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as you might expect, with no Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution. KOTT news crews were able to complete several ghost bustings and secured access to all of the faction items. So if you want to run some Genesis, hit me up. Turning to the weather, and it's going to be a beautiful morning all day long, well through the afternoon, until late evening cold fronts will drive invasions through the central corridor. So plan your travel accordingly. 6 requests for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPCO. Remember, if it isn't LARPCO, it's cardboard. Up first, the Syndicate forces of Weeptile TTV assail the Covenant forces of Lost Templar for the primary oil reserves of Weaver's Fen. Welcome back to the Syndicate company that only recruits 1 quality level 60 at a time. If they're making a move, they like their chances. Lost Templar continues to defend the peat moss fields of the Fen, taking on their 5th straight fight against a Syndicate attacker. Meanwhile, the Covenant forces of Kyoto Yohei assault the Syndicate forces of Washed Millennials for the northernmost territory of Morningdale. Kyoto Yohei make their 2nd attempt to secure land on the island after failing in Restless Shore 3 weeks ago. Washed Millennials have been studying the forward death wall from their observation post for almost a month, and they don't want to share that information. Then, the Syndicate forces of Secrets attack the Covenant forces of Milked Regime for the Bamboo Forest Preserves and Medicinal Hot Springs of Ebonscale. Great House Secrets return to the hot springs and declare their right of rematch for the resort destination town. As for the Defenders, Milked Regime intend to contend and keep the hamlet of Ebonscale under their care for as long as they can. Also, the Covenant forces of Health Divine challenge the Syndicate forces of Nameless for the Monarch's crown and the right to rule the Western Bluff. Newcomer Health Divine make their first assault on the island by attempting to secure a region rich in resources and recruiting potential. The current monarchs of the Bluff, Nameless, have held the crown for nearly 2 weeks now and are well rested after 4 days off. While that's unfolding, the Covenant forces of Hexacon will assault the Marauders of Landlord in their bid to seize the master fishing port town of Reekwater. Hexacon have been making attempts on land along the western coast of the island. Will this shift east catch the landlords off guard? The consolidated forces of landlords have managed to maintain control of the hamlet for nearly a month. They've shown the resolve to keep what is theirs. In the nightcap, the Covenant forces of Ancient Templar assail the Syndicate forces of Secrets for the secondary oil reserves of Cutlass Keys. As reported 2 nights ago by KOTT News, newcomer Ancient Templar have made their move to capture Cutlass Keys. For Secrets, the ongoing taxonomy conference regarding the reclassification of the crocodiles inhabiting the Keys will have to wait. We'll have the outcomes and reactions from the citizens tonight at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Breaking news, Eternum War Correspondent JChalant here on the scene in First Light, where the spice has lost control. It is fluctuating, as you can see, wildly behind me. I'm going to try to get closer. Let's see if we can get in a little closer on this stuff. Look at it. The energy of the spice is everywhere. Whoa, be careful. Once infused with the spice, your eyes will glow purple. That is the first indication of excessive spice flow. Whoa, look out! We're getting in closer to the spice. What could this be? That's a cannon. Do not walk in front of the cannon. As you can see, ladies and gentlemen, the spice is out of control in First Light at this time. The excessive fighting in the region has caused the Spice Lords to lose control of their precious energy source, and now it is fluctuating out of control wildly. As you can see, there's a beam, a steady beam now focusing into this building. That is someone's house. Someone has been hoarding spice in their house. It is now crushed. Oh no, look out! I'm in the spice. I gotta get out of here a little bit. Gotta get out of here just a little bit. All right, ladies and gentlemen, KOTT News will bring you more on this story as it develops. War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News. Hello, Eternum, and welcome to KOTT News, Eternum's #1 source for news. And this is the War Report. No change in the dynamic of Eternum last night, as all 6 great houses hold court. KOTT news crews were in Reekwater for the full hold and spoke with one of the defending participants.
You know, just another Tuesday night for us.
KOTT News would also like to announce an upcoming special announcement. More on that story as it develops. Turning to the weather, and surprise, surprise, it's another beautiful morning all day long until very late evening cold fronts from the north will cause invasions in Weaver's Fen. 2 rosters submitted for Simulated Fantasy Combat Resolution tonight, brought to you by LARPco. Remember, if it isn't LARPco, it's cardboard. Up first, the Syndicate forces of Insanely Sane assault the Marauders of OD Mad Sus for the bear-infested deep forests of Brightwood. Back from their loss 5 nights ago, Insanely Sane make their second attempt to secure land in this rematch in the woods. For the forces of OD Mad Sus, formerly known as One Bob's Playplace, they appear to have embraced the spirit of the bear. Then, the Covenant forces of Hexacon assail the Syndicate forces of Stronghold for regional control of the always restless shore. Hexacon are fighting on back-to-back nights after failing against the landlords last night in Reekwater. Will fatigue be a factor? For Stronghold, their most recent declaration has drawn the attention that they seek, and they'll stand their ground for 30 minutes against any who come. Be sure to tune in for complete coverage and reactions from the citizens at 11. Until then, this has been War Correspondent JChalant, KOTT News.